institution of higher learning is that it might confer honorary degrees. Such degrees are awarded to individuals who have made significant contributions to society and through their work have realized the ideals and aspirations to which Seton Hall is committed. We want to honor one such individual today for his lifelong dedication to fostering peace and social justice, which are among the ideals and aspirations to which Seton Hall is committed. He is a most worthy recipient. We ask our candidate, His Excellency António Guterres, United Nations Secretary General, and our President, Dr. Josephine Ayer, to please rise and step forward. I invite Ms. Mark Ganton, member of our Board of Regents, to the podium to confer the honorary degree upon our distinguished nominee. President Ayer will lead His Excellency António Guterres as Mr. Ganton confers the degree. Welcome, Mr. Ganton.
Thank you. In accordance with the authority granted to the Board of Regents of Seton Hall University, and at the direction of that board, I hereby confer on the candidate the honorary degree for which he has been presented, with all the rights and privileges thereunto appertaining in my name and in the name of the Board of Regents. May I offer you our sincere congratulations.
Good morning. My name is Courtney Smith, and I am Dean of the School of Diplomacy and International Relations. It is my sincere pleasure to introduce His Excellency, the United Secretary General of the United Nations, António Guterres, who was just awarded an honorary Doctorate of Humane Letters. The Secretary General is a most fitting recipient of this degree, given his lifetime of servant leadership at the national and international level. Mr. Guterres began his service as the 9th UN Secretary General on January 1st, 2017, and was subsequently appointed to a second term, which began 5 months ago. This role has been described as the most impossible job in the world. After all, you need to balance the divergent interests of 193 member countries while simultaneously addressing the most heart-wrenching and intractable conflicts spanning all corners of the globe. Undaunted by these challenges, and in keeping with the Seton Hall motto, hazards at forward, Mr. Guterres has worked to build peace, equity, justice, prosperity for all peoples of our planet. He has engaged his organization in the headlines of our time, including the war in Ukraine, while also marshaling his own personal diplomacy with key stakeholders to halt the fighting and provide humanitarian relief. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. His agenda in the service of peace is broad, encompassing all aspects of the UN's 17 Sustainable Development Goals. He is well known for his work to address climate change, for example, and to promote the status of women and girls around the world. And as is reflected today, he firmly believes that engaging youth in these efforts is essential for humanity's future. In honoring the Secretary General, we are not only recognizing his many contributions to peace and social justice, which are key values shared by the UN and Seton Hall, but also the special relationship between Seton Hall and the UN since the founding of our school. We celebrate the many ways in which our students, faculty, and alumni have engaged with the work of the UN in New York and around the world. And we know that the Secretary General and his colleagues will have even more of our graduates working alongside them in the future. The Secretary General's mission as a servant leader long precedes his current position. He spent 10 years as the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, working to ameliorate the suffering of over 60 million people forced to flee their homes due to persecution, oppression, conflict, and economic devastation. Before that, he served as Prime Minister of Portugal from 1995 to 2002, capping more than 20 years of government and public service within the Portuguese Parliament, the Council of Europe, and many other civic and political organizations. Many years ago, one of the Secretary General's predecessors, Dag Hammarskjöld, observed that the purpose of the United Nations is not to deliver us to heaven, but to save us from hell. Now, I have a tremendous respect for Hammarskjöld and his legacy, but on a day like today, when I reflect on the accomplishments and life's work of our honoree, and when I look out at a sea of future servant leaders looking ready to make their own mark on the world, I do see us moving closer to heaven. And we are very fortunate to have people like Dr. Guterres guiding the way. Please join me in welcoming His Excellency, UN Secretary General António Guterres, to the podium to deliver his remarks.
Your Eminence, Cardinal Tobin, President Nair, Provost Passerini, Dean Smith, Board of Regents, and very especially, dear students. Allow me to say first and foremost, congratulations, class of 2022. I am deeply grateful for this honorary degree, which I accept on behalf of the women and men of the United Nations, working tirelessly for peace, sustainable development, and human rights around the world. But this is your day. Moments like these are precious and rare. The journey to graduation day is never an easy one. But for the class of 2022, the mountain was steeper still. Half of your studies took place under the shadow of COVID-19 and all the challenges that go along with. Getting here required enormous flexibility and innovation. And it required the patience and love of your families who share in these celebrations. And it required the support, guidance, and counsel of the friends and faculty members surrounding you today. As you reflect on how far you've come, let's take a moment to recognize all those who stood by your side and helped get you here with a big round of applause. Dear friends, the graduates we celebrate today embody the vision of Seton's father, Bishop James Roosevelt Bailey, who saw the school, and I quote, as a home for the mind, the heart, and the spirit, end of quote. A home for the mind, reflected in its academic rigor and expectations of excellence. A home for the heart, providing all students with a singular opportunity to give back through community service as servant leaders. A home for the spirit, welcoming students of all faiths and cultures, while proudly preserving the school's Catholic heart and soul. Given our location today at the edge of Newark's iron-bound district, I could have a home for homesick Portuguese like me, with some of the best Portuguese restaurants in the three-state region. And of course, a home for athletic excellence. So allow me to say right here in Prudential Center, go Pirates! Thanks to everything Seton Hall has given you, you now have a priceless opportunity to give back and be the servant leaders that our world needs. Your paths may not be straight or predictable. I speak from my personal experience. Over 4 decades ago, I graduated university as an engineer. But I confess, I have never practiced engineering. What I ultimately took from my training went far beyond electronics or telecommunications. The most important skills I gained from my education, my university, were learning how to learn, how to work with others, how to communicate ideas, and above all, how to make a difference in the world. So no matter the path you choose, even if it may bear little resemblance to your original training, I know you look upon your years at Seton Hall as an incredible opportunity to change the world for the better and to embody the adventurous spirit shared by all of Seton Hall graduates, and one that springs from this school's inspiring motto: hazard set forward, whatever the peril, go forward. Indeed, there is no greater expression of Seton Hall's true pirate spirit than persevering through peril. And we need that spirit today more than ever. Dear students of the class of 2022, as Secretary General of the United Nations, I feel it is my duty to report that you are entering a world brimming with peril. You face conflicts and divisions on the scale not seen in decades, from Yemen to Syria, from Ethiopia to the Sahel and beyond. And of course, the war in Ukraine, a violation of that country's territorial integrity and the Charter of the United Nations, is causing immense human suffering, destruction, and death. And it is also exacerbating a food, energy, and finance crisis around the world. Meanwhile, the climate crisis is wreaking havoc and threatening to erase entire communities and even entire countries, with governments failing to take the action needed to turn this around. Poverty, exclusion, and inequality are worsening. The gap between the haves and have-nots in every country is widening. Hunger and famine stalk millions, and human rights are under assault. Women are still largely shut out of the halls of power and the boardrooms of business. Knowledge, science, and expertise are being devalued by conspiracy theories and outright lies. People increasingly mistrust their institutions, their governments, even each other. And the misuse of social media is undermining the social fabric. Hate and extremist thought are being amplified across societies, seen tragically once again by the outrageous racist massacre in Buffalo 10 days ago. Global solidarity is missing in action. From the scandalous unequal rollout of COVID-19 vaccines to the absence of support to help developing countries recover. And geopolitical fault lines are spreading fast. From the Middle East to the threat of a new Cold War with grave nuclear undertones, to terrorism and sectarian fighting within countries rooted in ancient grievances, to an explosion of extreme nationalism that ignores the central truth that international solutions are always in the national interest. Each challenge is another sign that our world is deeply fractured. And I tell world leaders across my travels, these wounds would not heal themselves. They cry out for international solutions. They demand that countries stand with one another with a strong multilateral system. Building a better, more peaceful future requires collaboration and trust, which are sorely lacking in today's world. Dear graduates, I do not raise this challenge to darken your special day today. I raise them because it now falls to you, as Seton graduates, to use what you have learned here to do something about it. To live up to your motto and in the face of peril, go forward in building a better future. My generation and your parents' generation have fallen short in bequeathing the world you deserve. But when I look out at all of you today, strengthened by the skills you have learned at Seton Hall, I have hope. I have hope that you will succeed where my generation failed. You will be the generation that succeeds in ending extreme poverty and hunger and reducing inequality. You will succeed in developing new technologies and breakthroughs that can end disease and suffering. You will succeed in replacing hatred and division with reason, civil discourse, and peaceful dialogue. You will succeed in building bridges of trust among people and recognize the inherent dignity and rights we share as human beings. You will succeed in balancing the scales of power for women and girls so they can build futures for themselves and for us all. You will succeed in closing the fault lines and dealing the divisions that needlessly scar our world. And my friends, you must be the generation that succeeds in addressing the planetary emergency of climate change. Despite mountains of evidence of looming climate catastrophe, we still see mountains of funding for coal and fossil fuels that are killing our planet. The money continues to flow from some of the biggest names in finance, hedge funds, and private equity. But we know investing in fossil fuels is a dead end, economically and environmentally. No amount of greenwashing or spin can change that. So we must put them on notice. Accountability is coming for those who liquidate our future. Last week, I announced 5 actions to speed up the shift to renewable energy. Today, I'm focused on the action you can take. As graduates, you hold the cards. Your talent is in demand from multinational companies and big financial institutions. But you'll have plenty of opportunities to choose from, thanks to the excellence of your graduation. So my message to you is simple. Don't work for climate wreckers. Use your talents to drive us towards a renewable future. And thanks to Seton Hall, you have the tools and the talents you need. This is a Catholic university. And as a Catholic, I've always been guided by the parable of the talents. As the history majors here will tell you, talents are currency at the time, were currency at the time of the Roman Empire. And as the religion majors here will tell you, the parable reminds us that we are not only privileged to have the talents or advantages we have, we also bear a solemn responsibility not to squander them, but to use them in a responsible and constructive way to the benefit of those that are less privileged than us. Throughout history, humanity has shown that we are capable of great things, but only when we work together. Only when we overcome differences and work in the same direction with the same aim, to lift all people up, not only those born to wealth and advantage. Only when we look to all people as fellow global citizens with goodwill, tolerance, and respect. So to all graduates, I urge you, be useful, be mindful, be kind, and be bold. Be generous with your talents. And once again, my deepest congratulations to the class of 2022 and my thanks to Seton Hall. Thank you. Hazard Z forward.